All right, everybody, I got 9:05, so let's go ahead and get started. Before we get going, I just want to make sure that you're all where you think you are. This is Math 266, Calculus 2. Okay, I know Wexler is laid out in kind of a nonsensical way. All right, so hopefully everyone's getting off to a good start to their semester. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and the class before we start doing some math. My name is Stephen Reese. Call me Steve or Steven, or if you're not comfortable with that, Mr. Reese is fine. I'm a PhD student here in my fourth year, working on my dissertation for the math education program. I've been teaching here during my time. I've taught, not taught 266 before, but I have taught 271, which is the Cal 2, but not for engineers. In terms of the content, very similar. So I do have some experience teaching this. I've also taught calculus at the high school level for a number of years. So been doing this for a little bit. One thing I do want to say off the bat, and I will stress this very early and often, is if you have any questions about anything, either in class or outside of class, please get a hold of me. I'm very available. I understand that, mathematically speaking, this is a tough course. So everybody in here is going to struggle at times, and there's no shame or judgment in that. It's just going to happen. And when it does, it's really important for your success to reach out to each other, reach out to me, know what your resources are and use them. If you don't know what those resources are, I can help you figure those out. But please keep an open line of communication with me as much as you need. That doesn't just apply to things having to do with the class or with math or academics in general. If you have concerns, please reach out to me. Best way to get a hold of me is, you can see this, right? Cool. Best way to get a hold of me is through email, slreese3@asu.edu. I also check if you send messages over Canvas, that gets thrown there as well. So if that's something you feel more comfortable with, that's fine. They all wind up in the same place for me. The one thing I will ask, especially if it has to do with this class or your grades, use your ASU account. In fact, if you email me from a personal account, I'll probably not respond. I mean, I'll respond to your ASU account. And just as a function of federal law, FERPA, I cannot really talk to you much about where you stand in the class, your grades, things like that, unless it's through an ASU channel. So if you see me respond to a place where you didn't communicate from, that's exactly what's going on. Office hours, unfortunately, I won't really know exactly when those are until second or third week, or probably second full week. So next week, I suspect they will be probably right after this class, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. Probably 2 of the 3. Do we have spots left? Sort of. So yeah, we're right at fire capacity right now. I think there's exactly 40 desks in here. My office hour, I suspect they will be probably from like 10:30 to noon on 2 of those days, but I'll let you know as soon as I know. In the meantime, so I'm pretty far along in my program, which the good news for you all is that I'm not really taking courses anymore. Which means, even though I have a lot to do for my PhD program, very little of it is scheduled, which means if you need to make an appointment with me, we should be able to work something out very easily. The joke around the PhD program is it's very flexible. You can work whatever 80 hours of the week you want to. So the good news and bad news for that is, if you need something, I'll certainly be able to make it fit. Any questions so far? So you are, since I'm assuming most everyone here is an engineering major, most of you, which probably means that Calc 2 is not the end for you. You're moving on to Calc 3, DiffyQ, that kind of stuff. So you're right in the middle of the calculus sequence. So just kind of give you if you don't already know, kind of give you a snapshot of where you are. Calc 1 is, very kind of really the introduction, getting your hands dirty with calculus. So knowing what a limit is and knowing how a limit applies to things like continuity and the derivative. I think you spent almost the entire semester on derivatives, right? And if memory serves, like you kind of got into integration at the very end, right? So that is the bulk of what this semester is. content wise is integration. So differentiation and integration are like kind of the two big things that make up calculus. We're going to spend most of our time on integration this semester. Also how that applies to things like Taylor series and sequences and series, things like that. And then looking forward, Calc 3 is mostly scaling those things up. So what I mean by that is in Calculus 1, you're pretty much in two variables, right? X and Y. That's largely going to be the case for us. So differentiation and integration in two variables. And then the big add for Calc 3 is how do you scale it up into 3 and 4 variables? And even more than that in some cases. So again, I say this not to scare anybody, but just to kind of let you know the lay of the land. Calc 2 is a tough course. I feel like most students in your generation who I talk to believe it's the hardest of the 1 through 3. Having said that, you all can be successful. But again, you will struggle at times. I took it 20 years ago and I have vivid memories of me struggling with certain things. It's not something you're born with. It is something that has to be learned, and it's something that can be learned. Please reach out to each other, reach out to me, and we'll all get there. So I'm going to go to the syllabus for a little bit, just what I think are the really important things. At any time, if you have questions, please stop me. We have plenty of time to talk about anything you're wondering about. So this calendar is, a lot of this is negotiable. For example, like if I have, third week, I have partial fractions in there. If we don't get to that, that's fine. We'll get to it eventually, but if we get to it late, whatever. The things that are pretty set in stone, because this is a coordinated class, are those exam dates. So if you want to take note of those, or I'll show you where to find the syllabus in a minute, I can't really move those. What's a little bit negotiable is what content lands on them. But since you're one of, let's say, 12 calculus or 266 sections, all being coordinated by the same person, the tests are more or less similar to each other. It's pretty important we all give them on the same day. So I can't really move those. But as to like what days we talk about things, certain things just take longer to cover. And even though I've taught Calc 2 before, I haven't taught any of you before. So you might have a quicker time with certain things. You might take a little bit longer with certain things. I will go at the speed you all need me to. And I really need you all to know that. I think, especially at the university level, I'm assuming most of you are sophomores, first year, second year, third year. There's not like one speed I am committed to go to and we'll just crank this out. I don't believe in that. We'll go with the speed we need to. So please ask me questions. You will get a sense of it today, but I don't really talk at you for most of the time. I rely on you to kind of answer my questions and kind of push things along as well. Mostly to keep you active, but also it gives me a decent indicator as to whether my pace is appropriate or not, how people are doing. I don't want to get too into the specifics about like what exactly we're going to be covering, because it's not going to make a ton of sense until we get there. But yeah, just know that integration is the big thing here. How are you going to be graded? So I want to focus on this table on the right here. Half of your grade is going to be tests. There are going to be 3 midterm tests throughout the year on September 18th, October 23rd, and November 20th. That's probably Thanksgiving week. So the 50% will be divided evenly among those 3 things. Give 2 kinds of homework, and I'll explain why I do. Online homework and written homework. The online homework, have you ever used WebWork before? Has anyone not used that platform before? Okay, so quite a bit of you. So I'll open that up and kind of help you get acclimated there, but hopefully you don't have any problems. If you do, let me know and I'll get a handle for you. But the online homework, the reason I think that's valuable is, you know, let's say like, so the first section we're going to cover today, we're not going to get through it, but we're going to start it. I think the web work that I assigned has like 14 problems on it, which might sound like a lot, but they're pretty short. And what the online homework I think is really good for is you just learned it. These questions are more basic, but you can answer them and get feedback right away if you're right or wrong. So it's really good, I think, for like the diagnostics of, do I get the basics, the kind of the top level stuff. The written homework, I'll assign those approximately once a week, except on test weeks, probably. So in the past, I've had like 12 of those throughout the semester. Those are a little more in depth. So those might be like anywhere between 2 and 4 questions, but they're a little deeper. And you're going to hand in like a written, like you'll do your work on paper or on an iPad, however you like to do it. You'll hand it on Canvas, and those are a little higher stakes because that kind of forces you to show your work, dig a little deeper, answer things that are a little more complex, but it also gives me a chance to give you more detailed feedback. Pretty much all web work can tell you is right or wrong. There are some rare instances where it can kind of give you hints as to why you might have went wrong, but that's pretty rare. Final exam will be worth 25% of your grade. We'll talk more about that as we get closer. Obviously, we have a long way to go. Also want to focus on the grade cutoffs here. So we are on a 9-point scale, which was everyone on the plus and minus scale last semester? I also teach at one of the community colleges and they don't use it. So maybe that's what I'm getting confused by. So these grade cutoffs here are minimums. And what I mean by that is, if everyone in here gets a 97, A+ is all around. Awesome. But that doesn't mean that a 95 won't be an A+. It just depends on kind of how everyone lands. I can't promise you anything, but I have never not relaxed those a little bit just because it's calc too. It's hard. Not everyone's going to get 100%. That's just, I don't know any perfect people, any perfect math students. I think all we have is one spot in the middle of the hardest to get to, right? Textbook. So there's a new platform, at least new to me, a platform called Brightwave or Cengage, where you can get the textbook. I suspect that many of you already have access to it if you took Calc 1 here. But let me scroll down to the bottom here. So the very last page of the syllabus, there's some information on how to get access to the textbook. If you took Calc 1 here, you should have access to it. It's a very big calculus book that covers 1 through 3 and even some differential equation stuff. If you don't already have access to it, Brightwave is making it available. It looks like $25. So hopefully that's true. That's incredibly inexpensive. So if you need access to it, and it is required for the course, this is a good way to go get it. Again, if you have any trouble, please talk to me and I'll work those things out with you. How are we doing so far? Question?
Is the online homework and night homework like completion or accuracy with grade?
Accuracy. So the online homework, I don't grade the online homework. Web work, basically, it self-grades. Mm-hmm. So you get that feedback right away. The written homework, we have 2 days to grade those, but yeah, y'all need the feedback, especially for a class that's demanding, like a calculus class. Yeah, I'd rather give you the feedback than so. Hope that doesn't turn you off too much of how the homework's going to be graded, but I think it's important to get you that feedback. Graphing calculators, I don't use a ton of them in here, and I don't. There are certain things I can teach you, but I don't focus on it a lot on how to use the graphing calculator to do a lot of things. But you're allowed to use them for tests. You're allowed to use them for homeworks. The only things I ask you to stay away from are, if you see this acronym CAS, those are the ones to stay away from. Those are the ones that ASU does not allow you to use because they can solve equations for you symbolically. But like the TI 84, 89, Inspire are the most common ones I see. Those are all fair game. Email. I already said this, but I think it's worth repeating. If you need anything, if you have any concerns, academic or non-academic, please reach out to me. And I don't promise to know the answer or to be able to help you, but I promise to find the people who can. What else? Has anyone tried to access the Canvas for this course and not been able to? Okay, good. So if you haven't already, try to take a look at that today and make sure that you all have access to it. I'll say a little bit about this section right here. Basically, this is kind of the citizenship area here. Be respectful of this space, be respectful of each other, not only academically, but non-academically. My first job as a teacher at high school, college, university is to make this a self-welcoming place for all of you. I can't do that alone though, so I need your help with that. If you think that that ideal is not being upheld, I can't promise I'll notice it, so I need your help though as well. If you see anything going on that I need to know about, please tell me. I'll handle it anonymously. I don't foresee those things happening, but if they do, I will deal with it. I believe the drop date is August 30th, where you can drop the class without taking a W. I think I had that in the calendar up there, but the withdraw date is quite a bit later. I want to say November sometime. Okay. Yeah, the rest of this I'm going to go ahead and leave if you want to review it. If you have any questions about the syllabus or anything in here, please let me know and we can talk about it. Otherwise, I want to briefly show you the Canvas. So there isn't a lot there yet because I try to update it as the class goes, but link to the most current version of the syllabus in here. I'll be updating that throughout the semester. The next big thing I know I'll update is when my office hours are, whenever I figure that out for sure. But one thing I would like you to pay attention to, if you haven't already noticed it, I see a couple of people have, is this start here section. So this right here is valuable for, getting started. So what are the things you need to get going? Why is the Zoom not working? There it goes. So the welcome is just a little bit of an introduction about me. Textbook access, so how you can get access to our book, which who in here, this is their first math class at ASU? Okay, so those of you certainly don't have access to the book yet, or at least you wouldn't have it before now. So make sure you have access to the book. The good news with that is I believe you will not need to purchase anything for Calc 3 because I believe it uses the same book for 267. Online homework access. So it should be pretty simple to get to my web work. So the address is literally webwork.asu.edu. And under 266, I think my name is the last one on the list. So click that. You should already have access to it because you're on my roster. If you don't see that's the case, let me know immediately and I'll get you set up. Class recording. So like I'm doing right now, I record every session in here. just in case people need to go back and review it, or you can't show up because you're sick or something. That's one thing I should emphasize. If you are sick, don't just stay home. If you really, really want, I will provide the Zoom link. So I record all our class meetings on Zoom, which means I'm logged into Zoom, which means you can log in if you really can't come in. But there are other ways to get you caught up. You don't need to take away from the rest you need if you're sick, or if you need to stay out for some other reason. But I'll post those on Canvas every day. I also have a link there to my YouTube channel where they're all going to show up when I post them. And there's a short survey on here. So basically just asking you a few questions about kind of what you've done prior to getting this class, what you want to get out of it. Give you an opportunity to ask me questions if there's anything you want to know about me, things like that. But low stakes, you complete it, you'll get full credit. When's the due date for that? I think I said Sunday night, August 20th. Yeah, Sunday night. So thank you to the couple of you who have already seen this and done it. The rest of you shouldn't take you too long, but want to make sure you're aware of it. Any questions so far? Okay. As always, if there are questions, raise your hand, stop me in the hallway, send me an email, and I'll answer whatever I can. I forgot my charger, so I'm a little bit afraid of how this is going to go. All right, let's go ahead and get going. So I believe in Calc 1, those of you who took Calc 1 here, you ended with section 5.4, which not sure quite. I don't remember what coverage it covers. I know that it's basically we're just kind of dipping our toe in the water when it comes to integration.